what does the government do, right? First,
everything, of course.
Everything, of course, right? No, but what do you think about food tech?
Well, I think it's extremely interesting to see the development that is coming right now. I mean, for the first time, we as consumers have the opportunity to act because there are so many new products entering into the stores. So now you can choose away meat for meat substitutes in different ways, plant-based protein sources, and also the dairy industry is being challenged as we speak by new thinkers developing the new products. And I think that this, as we see right now, is just a start, is something that has the potential to transform the way we look at food.
Okay, but you're from the Green Party, right?
That's right, yeah.
So this must be something you really like and enjoy, this revolution.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no difficulty seeing that we have some serious problems around food. I mean, we have the climate issue where something around 30% of our climate effects come from the food sector, much of it, of course, from the meat production sector. And we also have serious health problems. I mean, just today there was news that about more than 50% of the Swedish population is either overweight or obese. And we know that this has huge effects on our health issues in our society. So, of course, we have to change. We have to do something about this, and there are so many motives to start acting. And I think that the time is ripe to really start implementing activities to see that this change goes even faster.
I think it's always really interesting when we talk about change, because change is fueled by one thing, and it's money. And that's why it's so interesting that you're here, because you're Minister for Financial Affairs. You've been talking a lot about crowdfunding over the years, and you also, there's a new, what do you call it, utredning, what's that in English?
It's a committee.
Committee, on that was recently resolved. And it's really fun to see that, I think, funded by me, which is one of the leading platforms here in the North, something like 50% of the cases are food-related, right now.
Yeah, and I think that one of the reasons for that is that food is something that really touches people in their hearts. So if you have an opportunity to put your money where it does real benefit for society, that is something many people really choose to do. And also I think that many people see that there is an opportunity here financially. We see so many innovative new companies evolving around new thinking around food. And of course there is a financial benefit to be harvested here. So I think that we will see a continuation towards more and more investments in new financial and new ideas around food production.
And also new ideas for financing the food production, I guess. Because one thing I've been out, when I'm out in the world at least, and I hear about what people think about Sweden, they say, oh, sustainability and next-gen food system, and the next one is, how can we invest? And so there's a huge interest for the stuff being done here. How can we do anything in order to capitalize on that?
Well, absolutely. I think that there are many things. One is, of course, making it even easier to do crowdfunding, to make sure that people can invest in these new ideas, new technologies. The other is, of course, to shift the focus of the financial actors. I mean, our big pension funds and the big financial, like the banks, making sure that they also see the benefits of investing in this sector. And we know that there is a concern already around stranded assets, that the climate change, for example, will make investments we do today stranded. I mean, that means well, without any financial benefits. And we see that in the energy sector with large coal companies going bust in a couple of months. And I think that the food industry is one sector where this is also a great risk, both for that we know that the climate change will affect food production. Many areas that are now very suitable for producing food will be very much challenged in the future with higher temperatures. And also that when we start implementing economic incentives for finding new ways to produce in a more sustainable manner, this will of course also change what is profitable to new sectors. So I think that investors will start looking for new investment opportunities in the food sector, and this will change quite dramatically what is beneficial to invest in.
And how can we make sure that the pension funds understand this?
Well, we are at the moment we are moving into new regulation when it comes to the pension funds in Sweden, both raising the bar significantly when it comes to sustainability. So now they have to really make sure that they invest in a way that makes sure that we meet the commitments that we've made as a nation. For example, the Paris Agreement on climate, and also giving them more liberty to invest more freely, so they don't have to invest in bonds or rent papers, but they can actually invest in for example, innovative companies. So I think this will also open up opportunities for these big financial actors investing in new thinkers.
That could be for cell-based agriculture, for instance, or just supporting the young entrepreneurs, the budding entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And also, of course, the public sector has a role in financing the new innovative ideas, for example, startup companies. So we've made a large commitment in providing funding. And of course, we want this funding to also make sure that we meet our societal goals, both when it comes to health and when it comes to the climate issue and environmental issues. So I think that in that sense, there's also an opportunity. And of course, if we also implement more incentives to change our consumer behavior, that will also, of course, grow an even stronger interest towards this new sector. And we already see now that consumers are actually changing as we speak. For example, sales of vegetarian meals is increasing quite rapidly, and sales of organic food is increasing dramatically in Sweden. So people are really showing with their economic activities they want to be part of a positive change.
That's really, and now for a completely different area. It's really interesting, the positive change, and change is always driven by data, right? And currently all the food data that we have is owned by the big retailers. When it comes to financial markets, we have a new situation where the data belongs to the user, the consumer. When will we see the same type of legislation for the food sector?
Well, I think that we have some sort of a sector-by-sector approach. So we started with the financial sector and made some quite important changes, making sure that there is room for the fintech industry, the new innovative companies to get access to the data, and thereby also providing us as consumers with much better services. And I think that, with the general movement in the European Union, for example, this will come to other sectors as well. And I think that that's really important, because that gives us the power to use our information to get better access to information, for example, around how can we eat more healthy, where are the warning signals in the way I consume food, and to get feedback much more rapidly and much more accurately on this will also help us improve our everyday life. So at the same time, we also see that the big food sectors, food actors are also using the information in a new way. So they are also trying to use the information to help us. For example, one of the big retailers in Sweden is now presenting a new climate tool. So when you feed in the things you buy into their computers, you can actually get some sort of climate temperature meter. How are you as a consumer compared to what is needed and to others? And that is also something that, of course, will help us make sustainable and informed choices as consumers. Okay, so data will be freed, so to say, and now it's a race to see if the big companies can make use of it while they still have it, right? And at the other end, we have the entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, wanting to get in on that data, of course, and see what they can do in order to have a competition in the data layers around us. This is all going to be really interesting. I think that in order to really make this happen much more rapidly, we have to also change the economic logic around food. So that is something that, as a Green Party representative, we are working quite hard on that. So one of the policies that we are trying to introduce is a tax on bad meat, so to speak. The meat that is produced with high levels of antibiotics, which we know also creates serious health problems, and that, of course, makes it more affordable to buy non-meat products, and also the better meat that, for example, helps us achieve the biological diversity goals that we also have. So, and we're also trying to, for example, introduce a ban on throwing away edible foods, which is something that has already been introduced in other countries. So that will also get a strong incentive to, not least the retailers, minimizing the food waste, which is, of course, a huge problem today in society. We are throwing away good food, and that is too much of both an environmental and a health problem in Sweden. Okay, that's horrible. And by the way, just so you know, we will not throw away these plants when we're done. Excellent. You will carry them home and cook with them, right? Okay. So thank you so much, Per. And what would you say in a few rapid final words here regarding how should Sweden stick out and grab a position here internationally? Well, I think that we have all opportunities. We are an innovative country in any way that you measure it. We are at the top when it comes to finding and using new innovations. So we have both a very skilled population that can make the innovations, but also a tech-prone population that is also well, willing to adopt and trying to find the new solutions and use them. So I think that Sweden is a very, very good market for trying new ideas. And of course, with good funding that we are now trying to provide, and also economic incentives, making sure that there is an economic reasoning behind finding new solutions, I think that Sweden can really stick out as a country where we find the new solutions for eating for a healthy planet in the future.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Per. A big hand for Per.